if we're talking in generalities here, people usually split PEDs into like the androgens, the DHTs, and the 19-nors and stuff like that. In your, in general principle, what is the best way to build a stack that kind of encapsulates the benefits of all three of those, which is obviously where a lot of people are kind of going wrong?
So what's funny is, this concept, I think, was invented by Broderick Chavez. And I reached out to him, and I tried to get him on my podcast before the Arnold, but we're definitely going to touch base after the Arnold. So I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure I know his shtick, basically. I paid attention for about the past 8 years to it. So my model's a little different than his, right? So do you want me to talk about...
I want you to talk about your model.
Okay.
Sure.
So rather than grouping them into the families based on how they were created, I like looking at the families based on what they are. So like, if you had 3 mob families, right? Then, okay, they're all Sicilian, if there's a Sicilian Cosa Nostra, right? It's like, but that doesn't mean that just because you're part of the Gambino family, you're going to do what the Gambinos do. You might be a black sheep and do the opposite. You know what I mean? I shouldn't talk about real people, actually, because that's going to get me whacked. but I guess the point is I would rather just group them as what their structure is.
Yeah.
Because, for example, proviron is just DHT with a methyl group added to position 1, right? And DHB is just boldenone that's been 5-alpha reduced. But when you mix those together, when you take the double bond at position 1 and the methyl group added to position 1 of DHB plus proviron, if they had a baby, that baby would be Primo.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So is Primo going to work like DHT? Because supposedly it's part of the DHT superfamily. It's like, fuck no, it's got a double bond at position 1. That's way more relevant of a structural change than just a methyl group at position 1. It's going to have more stability to that A-ring, which means it's going to be much more resistant to aromatization.
Yeah.
So, or also to 5-alpha HSD, breaking it down inside the cytoplasm. So whereas proviron, which really is just DHT with a methyl group at position 1, the methyl group at position 1 makes it more resistant to the liver decomposing it when it's orally administered. That has no protection at position 2. So because there's no protection at position 2, 3-alpha HSD is going to decompose it. It's never going to bind to the cytosolic androgen receptor. It's never going to bind to the DNA. It's never going to make any protein. Sure. So because it doesn't make a protein, you have no contractile elements. Now, none of this has fucking to do with satellite cells. There's a whole nother pathway for generating muscle.
I was going to say, if proviron is not doing that, what is it doing?
It's blocking the HSD, so the other 5-alpha reduced steroids can get past the HSD and hit the androgen receptor. So proviron's like throwing peanut butter to a guard dog, while Primo and Masteron like a burger with a lip.
Yeah. So the idea of using it on its own is almost ridiculous.
Well,
because it gets done. That's why I'm asking.
It helps dudes have bigger loads and makes their dicks hard.
Cool.
So it's like, if you don't want to use Cialis for whatever reason, maybe you're on too much blood pressure medication, and if you take Cialis or Viagra and you're going to faint, because nothing is good in bed as a dude who passes out on top of you. So like, I would know from experience. I'm saying from the girl's point of view, but I just basically like outed myself as a bottom. No, I'm saying, but so what were we talking about? That Viagra is going to knock you out. You can't use it. Proviron's the old school way of blasting DHT to make your dick so sensitive it'll get hard for anything.
Okay, so if the whole, and I don't want to knock Chavez's model,
right?
But let's say that isn't the model that you use, and instead you're going by each compound does this specific thing or has this effect, as opposed to grouping them all together. How do you build some kind of stacking model then, based on now not having groups, if you like?
So I believe, and I may not be correct about this, but this is what I think. Oh, I mean, you know what? I'm not going to say what I think. I'm going to say what I know.
Okay.
I took John Jewett's university, and he had a different model, which is you build out your testosterone to get enough estrogen to give you health benefits and be present to convert the GH to IGF-1. And then you don't run those anymore. That's an HRT test. GH is as needed to get the best results. I introduced the whole concept that I'm going to use the IGF-1 as the marker for the limit of GH and estradiol.
Sure.
I took a year and I mapped out exactly how much GH and exactly how much estrogen I need to maximize my conversion IGF-1. And we talked about that extensively in the last episode. And it's not an exact science because other things can play into it, like insulin. I found that if I added a couple extra 1,000 calories, my IGF-1 would go from a 380 to a 580. So it isn't just dependent on estrogen. It isn't just dependent on GH. And as testosterone increases, is it testosterone or the androgen receptor? We're not sure, but the tests were done with testosterone. Then the somatostatin decreases. So we have some synergy there. So once you've got that IGF where you want it, and it may not be maxed out because I grew, since we last had our podcast, I grew 2 shoe sizes. So I obviously was using too much IGF-1. I wasn't injecting IGF-1, I was generating IGF-1 by using GH. I ran as much as 4 grams a year at one point, and I was running 26 units of GH at that point.
Per day?
Yeah. And 4 grams a year per week. But I was doing...
no, the GH was per day.
26 units per day. And my feet had grown. Maybe my facial skin has grown. I'm not sure. But I know my feet have grown because I was having extreme pain with almost all my leg exercises. And I was having fucked up back problems. And I finally bought bigger shoes, just as a guess. Like maybe my feet are bigger. Because people could see that my feet were busting out the sides of my shoes. And like my actual, where the footprint was, the actual sole of the shoe would be the middle of the footprint. The sides of the shoe wrapped around. And so I was like, well, okay, so at some point I was overdoing it. What point that was, I don't know. But for like several years, I was coasting basically on 1.5 grams a year and 8 units of GH, never had any problems. So I know, and I think I was safe at 2.25 grams a year. And I think I was safe at didn't matter if I used 6 units of GH, if I used 12 units of GH, 14, I always had the same IGF-1. More than 6 units of GH wasn't helping my IGF-1. At that point, to go over, after 6 units of GH is used, it's all estrogen up to 100. This is just in me. This isn't in anyone else. And then the food and testosterone can upregulate even further. So where were you going? Oh, my model. So I don't want to run too much test because too much test means too much DHT or too much water retention or too much estrogen. And the way that the water retention occurs is 2-factor. One is testosterone binds to the aldosterone receptor, the mineralocorticoid receptor on the kidneys, and makes you retain salt. The other is testosterone will deactivate 11 beta hydroxylase, which then shunts cortisol production over to mineralocorticoid production. It actually makes an intermediary step that's about stronger than aldosterone. But you're getting the anti-catabolic effects of having less cortisol, and you're having the increased mineralocorticoid. So what happens, you retain even more sodium. So I think the reason why people think they get bigger when they use test, and test is best for growth, is that you're retaining more water, so you look bigger. You're retaining more water in the muscle, so you look better. Your ratio of androgen to estrogen is lower, so you look harder. Because the DHT cancels out the estrogen increase in this parameter. The DHT increases your strength directly, and the water retention fills the muscle cell, creates hydrostatic force on the inside of the muscle cell, and that causes strength to go up. So you've got multiple mechanisms making you look bigger, harder, stronger. So testosterone makes you feel like you're better.
So what's the downside here? Because this all sounds really good so far.
Because the DHT is where the DHT and the estrogen, where all side effects come from.
Right, okay.
If you take a drug that doesn't convert, if you had some magical version of testosterone that converted into nothing, it shouldn't have any downsides, right? So because there's a balance, And so for different people, it's different things. Some people are going to lose their hair no matter what, even if they have 50 DHT. Some people could have a 300 DHT and not lose their hair. But I mean, the hair loss thing is a big argument people have, and then we'll probably get to that too.
Yep.
But right there, at some point, usually what I've seen is it's around 280 to 350, basically 40 to 50 milligrams a day. Because I like only talking about these drugs in daily dose. I don't like talking about weekly. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Because if you're dosing it daily, why would you talk about it weekly?
Yep.
And I think John came to the same conclusion that 400 a week is the upper limit that most people can get away with. Anything more than that, you're going to need to cancel out some of that aromatization with Primo. And we'll get to that later. But I don't even like that idea. It's like, why run up a drug so high you have to bring in a new drug to cancel out that drug? Sure. To me, that's addict thinking. Yeah. And that got started by the psychiatrists. Psychiatrists will put you on one med, then they'll put you on another med to deal with the side effects of that med, then another med to deal with that side effects, then another med. Meanwhile, you're taking kidney damage from the lithium, and you're taking sexual dysfunction from the Prozac. So now you got to go see an endocrinologist about the sexual dysfunction, or a urologist, or a gynecologist if you're a woman. You got to go see a nephrologist for the kidneys. So the kidney doctor puts you on medicine that's good for your kidneys but bad for your heart. And it's like, after a while, all your side effects come from the medicine. And the third leading cause of death is iatrogenic, which means caused by doctors. So there's heart disease, cancer, doctors. Those are the three leading causes of death. So you stay the fuck away. Do not use extra drugs to cancel out a shit drug. Switch your drug and don't use a shit drug. Or if it's something you need to have, like a hormone, use the right amount of that hormone. Don't go over. So a good amount of test I found was 20 for HRT, as much as 40, maybe even 50 for some guys. Now, me, because I've been doing this stuff for 15 years, I actually am a pro bodybuilder. I actually need like 70 a day to get the same results some of my other guys get with 20 a day.
Sure. But I mean, that's still 490, 500 a week, which is chump change compared to what some people are putting around, right?
Correct, exactly. So in like most recently, I had some odd shit where I tested out some EQ and I was running 100 tests a day. And I was running 30 EQ a day, and my estradiol was 19. So I was like, in the off season. So I've got quad striations in the off season. I don't need that. So took the EQ out, turned the test up. We want to get that estrogen up so I can get better conversion. But I am cranking at 425 IGF-1. So I'm doing something right. Probably because I'm using Lantus. But that's the point, is there's a lot of nuance to this, but that's not a base model you give to, it's not like the Fisher-Price steroid cycle. You know, like the Fisher-Price steroid cycle is 20 milligrams a test, 2 units of GH, ramp those up until you're maybe at 40 milligrams a test, 8 units of GH, and then you add in your primary anabolic if you need it. If you're growing, if you're getting stronger, you don't need it. But if you're going to add something, if you can't grow any other way, that's when we add the Masteron. Because remember how I talked about the perfect drug would be a test that doesn't deactivate 11 beta hydroxylase, that doesn't convert to DHT, that doesn't convert to estrogen. That's Masteron.
So level 1 is test and growth hormone go high enough to get the level of estrogen and IGF-1 that we want to create a good environment for growth in general.
And health, yeah.
So that's like level 1, you know, you milk that for all you can.
Exactly.
Okay, so then step 2, should we say, is where Masteron comes. Because as you're saying, like, there's no point going 600 test, 800, 1 gram, whatever, or at least it's counterintuitive or not the optimal.
It's not optimal. It's not optimal. So there is a point to it. It'll fucking work.
Oh, I'm sure.
But you're going to get pimples or hair loss or bitch tits or lip tick or all of them, right?
Okay, so we've capped out level 1, so then we go to level 2. You say Masteron, so let's drink. So you're a big fan of it. So what is that bringing to the table that other secondary or ancillary products do not?
Nothing.
Okay.
It's what it doesn't bring. Why do you get first class? There's no reason to get first class. But what don't you get in first class? You don't get obnoxious fucking kids. You don't get loud, tacky people. You don't get ghetto shit. First class is free of low class. So it's like, that's why I like Masteron, is Masteron just has no bullshit associated. There's no baggage. It's like, it's some vanilla chick who's a 5 face, 5 body. There's nothing special about her, but she doesn't have an ex-boyfriend with a criminal record. She doesn't have a kid who doesn't know what gender he is on smack. She doesn't have all the shit the other girls come with.
So what is special about it that gives it that then? Because, you know, and a lot of your videos are talking about Masteron, how it should be used over things like EQ and Primo, and how people think EQ and Primo and Masteron do these things when they don't. And you've already kind of mentioned in the structure there, but if you could just kind of go into that a little bit more about why people think EQ and Primo does X when actually Masteron does X and they all kind of do Y, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so... philosophically, people are confused about what science is. We saw that in the 2020 zone, where science is a religion to lower IQ people. That, and this is going to hurt some people's feelings, but that's what I do best. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. So if you're not that bright, your emotions are stronger than your logic. That's going to piss off people right there. Like, I'm very emotional, but I'm smart. My mom said so. It's like, so if you're really emotional and you don't do logic too good, then the story that is validating the shit you want to hear is the story you're going to cling to. Or even worse, the first story you hear is the one you think is true, and then every story that comes after is the one you think is false. And the charismatic charlatan will be able to sell the emotional people better than the nerdy scientist who actually knows what he's talking about, because they lack the social skills to be convincing. The salesman, the used car salesman, is going to sell you his version of science, which is a religion, and you're going to buy it because you've got good production value, because you look the part, because you're using proper NLP when you talk. You've got all the little, you know, like Obama talks a certain way, Trump talks a certain way. That's why they win, is because the way they talk. They don't talk like this, and then blah, 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 blah. Like Tim Walz doesn't know how to fucking talk. So that doesn't help. Kamala didn't know how to fucking talk. If you need to know how to talk, if you're going to sell stuff, so they can talk and they can sell shit. And they're selling a religion, and they call that religion science. Science is the opposite. Trust the science is oxymoronic. Science is, I have skepticism and I don't believe anything. And I'm going to have a hypothesis, and I'm going to try to prove the null hypothesis. And if I can't prove the null hypothesis, I have no choice but to accept the original hypothesis is true by data collection, by data analysis, by conclusion drawn from, and then that conclusion is a launch point to make a refined experiment again. And it's like The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The second Roland gets to the Dark Tower, you get to the first page of the first fucking book. It's just a circle. And you'll never find the truth. It'll always be out there. You're like fucking Mulder, you know? So you're Mulder and
That's
Scully.
a great analogy, by the way.
So, thank you, man. So it's like, that's the point, is you always look for the truth. And what's the reward? The reward is less people will die. You will get less people to kill themselves. Because it's like lemmings running off a cliff as fast as they can. And you're trying to be like, motherfuckers, there's a cliff there. Like, what do you know? And then they jump off the cliff. And you're like, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing? And it's like, why am I on this planet? I must have missed my planet and got off at the wrong exit. It's like my soul got off at the wrong exit because I do not belong on this planet. All right, so.
So how does this come back to Masteron? People not being a big enough proponent of it.
So the priests are pushing, and I'm going to call them primogogs, that they're basically worship at the altar of Primo. And they heard a rumor, an urban legend that Primo was best. And so they repeated it.
Sure.
And because their education comes from watching YouTube. Because on YouTube, so it's an echo chamber on YouTube of people watching each other's videos, and they're just repeating what they say. So this creates a narrative that the uneducated emotional person latches onto, and they believe it because of safety in numbers. So the herd mentality, the sheep mindset is, if 7 people are saying one thing or 10 people are saying one thing and one guy's saying something else, they're right and he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Irregardless of education, irregardless of if it makes sense, irregardless if one's a successful competitive bodybuilder and the other ones aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to latch onto whatever is popular.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck was using Primo 10 years ago? Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, well, Arnold used to do it. It's like Arnold used to use D-ball and Primo.
Mm-hmm.
D-ball they didn't have testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
So the only source of estrogen was D-ball.
Sure.
But you can mitigate that estrogen with the aromatase aromatase inhibition action of the Primo. That the Primo's metabolite is an aromatase inhibitor. So you can balance D-ball and Primo to get the perfect blend of DHB, because dianabol, when 5-alpha reduced, turns into DHB. So you got DHB as an anabolic, and you have methyl estrogen, and then you've got the Primo, which is going to be another, it's a 5-alpha reduced, so a DHT derivative, but it doesn't work like DHT. It's just an anabolic compound that's resistant to the 3-alpha HSD enzyme inside the cytoplasm. So it is a good cycle, but it's not the best cycle.
Sure.
So just because Arnold did it doesn't make it true. Do you train like Arnold? Are you doing 60 sets of chest and 60 sets of back Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Are you going chest and back at AM, legs PM, next day, delts and arms AM, cardio and abs PM, and that's a 2-day split for total body, and you repeat that 3 times and take Sunday off and go lay on the beach for natural sunlight? No, you're not doing a fucking thing Arnold's doing. So why the fuck are you going to use the steroids Arnold's doing? So it's the same thing. It's like these new kids on the block are pushing this Primo drug. Like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. It's like Nuke from fucking RoboCop. It's like, where was it in RoboCop 1? There wasn't Nuke in RoboCop 1. Exactly. It's like Nuke's the new kid on the block. And RoboCop has to step into town and put holes in some drug dealers and take Nuke off the market.
Sure. So in that context, is the Primo kind of like you mentioned Proviron earlier, where it's coming in basically just to allow the other drug to work better? So like with the D-ball and the Primo, you mentioned Proviron kind of blocking and allowing.
No, I don't think it is. I think that Primo isn't a bad drug. If you watch my steroid tier list, it's a B tier drug. I like Primo. I just don't think it's inferior in every way to Masteron.
Okay.
And it has side effects that Masteron doesn't have. So there's no logic to using Primo.
Sure.
So like, I have the scaling system, right? The drug, if we converted drugs to girls, all right, how effective the drug is at building muscle, its potency, is body, and how safe it is face. All right. So like Masteron would be like a 10 face and like a 4 body. All right. And Primo would be like an 8 face and a 5 body. So which one has the higher average?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Simple.
Sure.
Yeah.
In chick math.
Sure.
So if we've hit that upper ceiling on level 1, which is the test and the GH, there's no point pushing either of those higher. Masteron is then the smartest, most optimal choice, whatever. For
it doesn't convert to DHT. It doesn't convert to estrogen. It doesn't convert to 11 beta hydroxylase. People are using 2-3 grams of this shit and not getting problems. Name one motherfucker that can use a gram of Primo and not crush his estrogen.
So that was going to be my next question. Is that where you get the scaling from? Because you're talking about being on 2 grams plus, whatever it might be. Is that where the scaling comes from then?
Yeah.
And is that all Masteron, or does that then get kind of divided up?
Like I was running on prep 50 tests a day and 450 Masteron. Blood work was better than when I switched to 100 tests a day and 400 Masteron.
Oh.
So to me, that settles it.
So there's no reason at any other point for any of those other things to come in your opinion?
Which other things? Like Primo and EQ?
Okay, let's talk like Deca, EQ, Primo.
So let's go down the list. All right, so it's like the ex-girlfriend list. All right, so Primo, I've got current girlfriend, Masteron. Ex-girlfriend number 1, Primo. Pros and cons. All right. Primo has a reputation for being slightly more anabolic. Like 1 point more on a 10-point scale.
Sure.
So it's like if Masteron had like a 7 body, Primo has an 8 body. Okay, fine. And it's like as far as aromatase inhibition. That's a double-edged sword. It can lower that's great if you're on too much test.
Yeah.
But if you're not on too much test, you don't want to have an aromatase effect.
Yeah.
So that special feature is a double-edged sword. We don't need that.
Yeah, because we're assuming here that we're using this kind of model or approach that you're talking about, so we don't need that anyway.
So like if right, and that's the thing is a lot of people, they take their shit sandwich and they try to add my pickles to it. And they're like, this sandwich still tastes like shit. It's like, that's because you added my pickles to your shit sandwich. Why don't you have my delicious Cuban and not change it? I'm the chef. Shut the fuck up and eat it. At least take a bite and tell me how it tastes.
Yeah.
And then the people who take a bite, and they're like, this tastes amazing. This is the best sandwich I've ever had. I'm never going to eat another sandwich again. I was like, that's right.
Yeah.
You're done. You don't have to keep looking for a sandwich. You've got the best sandwich.
Yeah.
So we've got Primo. Downside number one, it's got the methylation at carbon 1. That's because it used to be an oral, but it's not an oral anymore. It's kind of like vestigial tail. That the girlfriend doesn't, why does this ex-girlfriend have a tail? It's because her ancestors used to be a different species, but she still has the vestigial tail. We don't need that because we've got a 17 methyl group, 17 alkyl group. We've added an enaphate molecule to the Primo. And we're injecting it. We don't need that 1' methyl group to protect it from the liver because we're not swallowing it. We're not going and spraying it in our mouth. We're injecting it. So we don't need that.
Sure.
So it's liver toxic for no fucking reason. 2, hurts. It hurts bad. And it's not like it hurts like, oh, I've got vaginitis. It hurts. It's like, this has made my arm grow 3 inches and it's purple.
Okay.
Like that's really bad if you're a cosmetic athlete.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is really traumatic. I'm not going to be able to lift because of how bad this hurts.
Sure.
It's fucking like 3 times the price.
Yep.
It's so fucking expensive. It's 150 times the price with half the concentration. Sure. That's 3 times the price. So we're going to get to my economics later. I actually have an economics later. Like if you cash in your Serostim and Primo for Metatropin and Masteron, here's what you can have.
Yeah.
And I actually have like houses in certain cities and the car that goes with it. Like you can have a $500,000 house and a Cadillac Escalade for the amount of money you're spending on Serostim and Primo. Or you could have a McLaren and a small cottage. Or, I mean, it's so crazy how much people blow on this stuff and what the value is. Because they're like, well, I've got a lot of money. I don't care. I'm like, you could hire a new employee to do all the shit you don't want to do for the price. And it's not like you're not getting GH. You're still getting, you're going to get a different brand of GH. You're going to get a different brand of anabolic. But back to Primo. All right. So we've covered the big flaws. It's too fucking pricey. It hurts on injection, which is going to cause inflammation, which is going to cause satellite cells to be used to repair the muscle, which means the satellite cells, assuming they're finite, means they're not going to be used to grow tissue down the road. Sure. So you're making your muscles' capacity for size permanently lower, just to use a brand that's overpriced. So you can brag about it like a Gucci purse. Like, I use Primo. It's like, you're a little prima donna. So
that's a great expression.
It's like the bitchiest fucking drug. Oh my God. So the Primogogs pushed this shit. It's like they ever thought this stuff through.
The Primogogs.
Yeah, the Primogogs. They pushed this drug. I mean, have you thought any of this shit through? Like what you could get for something, you could get like 20 units of GH a day for the price of this fucking Primo. It's so stupid. This makes me so upset. And that I'm actually think it's funny. And it's like, all right. And it's not that it's a bad drug. It's still a B tier drug. That's how bad the other ones are. All right.
Wow. Okay. So that's a good segue into whatever's next then.
So the next worst ex-girlfriend is EQ, right? EQ is a lot like Primo because it's got the double bonded position 1, and it can be an aromatase inhibitor too. But it's a stronger aromatase.
Which again, we've already established we probably don't need.
Which means you can't use as much. Because you're going to crush your estrogen, and we need the estrogen to convert GH to IGF-1. So we're going to just tear the floor out of the whole model if we do this. So the EQ, it has the benefit of causing enlargement of the kidneys. Okay, so I don't need fucking kidneys. I'll just go to Mexico and steal some tourists. But it's like, fuck my kidneys, let them die. And it's like, so Okay, let's say you don't care about kidneys. Okay. It's like, it's
You got 2, right? Okay.
because you've damaged the kidneys, you're driving up EPO.
Yeah.
So it means it's going to cause red blood count to go up, which now is going to make your blood thicker, which means you're going to listen to your doctor and go give blood. And it's like, leeches are expensive, or you could just give the blood out, and then you're going to have to eat more food to replace it. And it's like, none of this shit makes any fucking sense, guys. Even if my theory is correct, and that it's the aromatase inhibition of the EQ causes dehydration. And that's why you look more vascular. That's why your hematocrit's up. And the dehydration is what's causing the kidney damage, because nothing's harder on the kidneys than dehydration. And the kidney damage is then in turn causing EPO to go up. And the EPO is driving up the red blood cells, which then makes the hematocrit go up. Then it's a cycle effect, right? That's why the longer you stay on the EQ, the worse your body gets.
Okay.
So I think if you just stayed hydrated, you could probably mitigate most of these things. But here's a thought: don't use the shit drug in the first place.
Mitigation strategies for bad choices in the first place.
Yeah, it's just like, it's like, I found the cheapest lawyer to help me with my court case with the ex-girlfriend. It's like, or you could just not date her. Just don't date her.
So is there any redeeming qualities here for EQ?
EQ's a B tier. That's how bad the other ones are.
Oh, that's still B tier.
That's still B tier.
Okay, so we're plunging into what depths after that then?
Winstrol?
Winstrol is a special use. The Winstrol is not a steroid you date. It's a special occasion.
It's a fling.
Winstrol is who you call when you're in Vegas. Right?
Well played.
So you're going to the Olympia, which happens to be in Vegas, and you got 3 days. We thought you got 3 days from when you stop shooting your drugs, and you need to take something.
Yeah.
So Winstrol has a reputation for knocking out cortisol production, for knocking out glucocorticoid binding protein, and also blocking at the glucocorticoid receptor. So it's gonna fucking dry you out hard. And because anything that's anti-catabolic is anabolic indirectly.
Yep.
So you basically drive up anabolism through a different mechanism. So it would help really good if you were in a calorie deficit. Usually you're carbing up at this point, you're not in a calorie deficit anymore. That's not why you're using it. You're using it because the glucocorticoid class is almost as strong or even stronger than the mineralocorticoid class when it binds to the kidneys. So you're going to flush a lot of sodium, you're going to lose a lot of water that way. I have a suspicion it also works as a 21 hydroxylase inhibitor, so that you lose all of it. You lose all the glucocorticoid, you lose all the mineralocorticoid. So you just get dry as fuck on Winstrol.